Are your next one? I'm good. Steve Gunders. I'll come up.
Coffee or something, Steve?
I'm sorry?
Would you like some coffee or something?
That would be great. All that.
Want me to doctor it up for you?
James?
How do you take your coffee?
Black will be fine.
Okay, you got it.
It's yucky out.
I know, got up this morning and I had been parking in the garage with my husband. Had been- My whole car was covered in ice. I called him on the way here, I'm like, we're gonna have to really work and stuff, I'm gonna park back in my place in the garage.
I've had 2 clients who had 2 wrecks already this morning, so.
Oh, really?
The big curve coming from Farmington, hitting the interstate, and then coming back up here, they were just sliding.
Anderson and Brett Spurlock.
Steve Gunderson, Brad.
Gunderson, I'm sorry, but good to meet you.
I have not met Brad before. But I used to know some Spurlocks, but not around here.
We're related.
No, no.
Then we're probably related.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay,
If you don't mind.
okay.
Already done.
Right.
Not right now.
I know what you're saying.
Or didn't we?
We need to start learning a little bit more about this, since you're getting a new police station
Yeah,
now.
I learned what we were using it as.
Okay, good. On Yelp.
Yep, yep, yep.
Man, look at you. All right, thank you.
Take those off by,
We will.
that's not here.
Try, make a motion.
It might not happen.
And thank you so much for coming in today. I do appreciate you.
Oh.
Roll call, I'm Mayor Russell. Councilmember Tim Burris,
Here.
Public Works Director,
Here?
and
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. We're gonna go ahead and start conducting the interview.
Okay.
Mr. Sherlock, would you mind starting this off?
Absolutely. Mr. Gunderson, thank you so much for coming out on this dreary day and appreciate you being here.
Stand at the podium or?
No, you're fine.
As long as, I think that mic should be able to pick you up just fine. So, yeah. Going to start off first with the Freedom of Information Act and records that we have here at the city. One thing that I would ask what advice do you have for the city to make sure that we're compliant with our Freedom of Information Act? And also, how do we ensure compliance with Arkansas FOIA requirements?
Well, I think you've got two things. Number one, all the council members as well as staff need to understand what some people use it as a tool to find out things about the city that sometimes you city and being attacked by FOI. Cities are attacked by FOI. Got citizens who know how to use FOI. There are courses at the university. I'm not sure which when the next one will be available. That will send out a representative either from the university or somebody from the legislature to go over the FOI for the municipal, various cities and directors and councilmen, as well as staff. I think the municipal league even has a program that you can attend and get certified. Now, do you have to get certified every year or every 2 years? I don't know, but it would be a good practice because every time the people in Little Rock tinker with the FOI, it puts a new burden or takes a burden off of the city. And if you don't know that and somebody out in the community knows it, then you're in trouble. And the FOI penalties for failure to comply can be rather steep, especially if you go in front of the same judge 2 or 3 or 4 times. Somewhere down the line, that judge is going to get to the point where he's going to say, look, folks, you know you need to get in compliance and you need to stay in compliance. So sometimes there is, in some cities, in probably cities and municipalities bigger than Tontitown, they have a person that's assigned to keep up with the changes of the FOI. That person could be one of the councilmen, it could be one of the mayor's assistants. But that person who is supposed to keep up with the FOI needs to have a direct line with the municipal league. Needs to be able to say, hey, what's coming down the pipe? Do you know of any changes? If you do, send us the changes. We need to incorporate them. The second thing I think the city and municipalities need to understand is who's responsible for answering the FOIs. And that's a big issue because there are provisions of the FOI that essentially say you cannot delegate who answers. If I am the person who is supposed to answer for the city of Tontitown, I cannot sit and pick up the phone and say, hey, Brad, I want you to answer this because they're asking about the planning commission issue.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have to answer. Mm-hmm. Now, I may have to get you involved to say, hey, I need your help here.
Right.
Okay. The third thing I think that's very important, and I think that a lot of people overlook is there is a time limit in which to respond. Mm-hmm. That time limit is not very flexible. Now you can get if the other side is willing, you can get an extension of that.
Continuation, right.
When I worked with John Everett, there was an FOI for the Springdale School District that wanted certain records that went back 15 years. Well, there's no way in the world you can get that information in 3 days or 72 hours or whatever the time limit is. Mm-hmm. And you know, we filed a motion to not only narrow the scope of the request, but to indicate that if that request was not narrowed, then the party asking for that information needed to be able to pay for the extra time and effort it took to gather that information. That's about all I know about the FOI in a nutshell.
Okay. Great. Okay. We'll shift gears here a little bit, talk about some planning and zoning. So what advice would you give to the city council on how to handle maybe some of our zoning challenges we have within the city and our rapid growth? What some things that you would look at for the
I'm
city?
not quite sure I know what challenges you speak of. From me sitting over here in my house, the challenges that I see is what used to be pasture land and agriculture land, now all of a sudden is being developed.
Right.
Now, you know, I understand, I helped get all the codes together years and years ago. When Tontitown didn't have any building codes. They didn't have any zoning codes. It was just, you can do this, yeah, you can do that. No, you can't do that. One of the challenges that I see is notifying the individuals who own land adjacent to that piece of property that's going into the planning commission to get rezoned.
Public hearing. Yeah.
Now, that's all in good, and I've even been notified of a couple of pieces of property, and I think your notifications are great, because you can sign off on the notification, say, I have no objection,
Right.
boom, you're done.
Right.
You can just be silent, stupid, and not say anything, boom, you're done, okay? You have the right to come up here and voice your opinion, boom, you're done. One of the biggest dangers that I see is if you start rezoning in a manner that is haphazard or capricious. All that means is Billy Bob who walks in the door next and says, hey, I've got 25 acres and I want to rezone it, and the planning commission says no. Now they're going to sue you. Our commission's going to be appealed to the city council. The city council's going to 9 times out of 10 rubber stamp what the planning commission does, because they're the body that heard all of it.
Right.
City council doesn't want to hear it all again. You're going to get sued. And the question becomes, did you apply the same standard of proof, evidence, facts to Billy Bob as you did to this other one? And if you did, and there was no valid reason for it not to be rezoned, why did you not rezone it? So, in anytime this body gets sued, that's money out of the general ledger. That's money it takes away from roads. That's money it takes away from infrastructure. It's a tightrope you walk. I understand that. Now, I will tell you that there becomes an issue with whomever you hire as your city attorney, sitting in as the attorney for the planning commission. That's an #1 area to get that attorney disqualified to represent you in court. If you hire me, I will not go to any planning commission meetings. I can get somebody to go that's not my firm or doesn't work for me, but I will not go.
Okay.
If you want me to represent the city in litigation regarding planning issues.
Okay.
Because that attorney becomes a potential witness. Sitting there, he's advising you.
Okay.
When you get sued, he's out. The other issue I think you have is, or that I've seen is, facades. Man, that's a tough one, because everybody wants, you get these detailed drawings, and 9 times out of 10, the engineers or architects who present those detailed drawings to you have not even looked at the code or rezoning issue. They have not looked at the code.
Right.
So you first of all look at it and say, no, we're not going to accept that because it doesn't meet our
Not code. Right.
Well, that's going to cost our client money. That's a response you get. That's going to cost our client money. Now that I've got to go back in and redraft it.
Right.
Well, that's not our problem. The
Correct.
code's available. All you got to do is go online. and
Right.
get it.
Right. Correct.
And that's the big issues I see. Now, growth. You're talking infrastructure for water and sewer, and I think that's a big problem. I think water's a big problem. I mean, I know we've got another water tower that's about to be online, and probably somewhere down the line we'll probably have to add another one at the rate we're growing.
Yeah.
I don't know the issue on the sewers right now. I think that's pretty well established, but I do know that there's a lot of people on septic tanks in Tontitown. And I remember when I was a city attorney, there was always an issue about, hey, I've sold my house, or my septic tank is out and I'm within 180 feet, but I don't want to hook it.
Want to connect, right?
Well, I'm sorry, you have to connect. I
Right.
think it's 300 feet, or it used to be, I don't know what it is now. And I don't know where this planning commission or this body gets the ideas regarding the codes. I would assume it comes from the municipal league or other towns or other cities. I don't know where they get the ideas. But some of the ideas that work for Cave Springs or Elm Springs just will not work for
Right.
Tontitown. And some of the things that work for Tontitown will not work for Cave Springs. Just won't do it.
Yep.
And I think we're probably looking at, if I'm not mistaken, going under a whole new set of rules, not for the planning commission. Well, but there's no planning area now. in the
Right,
state of Arkansas.
right.
That wiped that out. That used to be, what, a 5-mile buffer, something like that, 3?
Yeah.
That's gone.
Right.
And that makes a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit of control away from the city. Now, I don't know if the county will sort of step in and say, hey, look, Tontitown, that used to be in your planning area, you don't have a planning area anymore, but we would sure like to make sure everything conforms to what you got. We
Right.
would like to see the size of the water lines be the same, the size of the sewer lines be the same. Don't know how much cooperation you get from Washington County. And that's all I got on planning
Yep.
commission.
Okay. Good. Thank you, sir.
Your approach to representing the city in code issues or code enforcement issues, residences or business?
Well, the city attorney, as I understand it, along, number one, I can draw up and sign informations. I can probably sign warrants for the city. As far as a zoning violation is concerned, I assume you write a citation. Citation is in process through the district court, which is in Elm. And that sort of goes hand in hand with traffic tickets and everything else. You have to have somebody that would represent the city of Tontitown to prosecute those actions. I don't know what the level of the number of tickets that Tontitown writes. I don't know the number of prosecutions. I've got a couple that I'm representing right now against the city of Tontitown, or against, the city for, DWI violations and stuff like that. And it seems like every time I'm there might be 5 or 6 or 7 cases that Tontitown has. Now, it used to be that the city of Tontitown had jurisdiction further south too, and that would put it in another court in south. Or does everything go to Cave? Everything goes to Elm. Okay.
Misdemeanor.
I don't have a problem doing that. I mean, that's part of the job duty of the city attorney. Now, a lot of cities hire out people to do that at either a per hour case, per hour. It takes you 4 hours to prosecute on a Tuesday or whenever it is. And, for that, then you have to have a contingency set up for, all right, they file an appeal. That appeal is going to the Washington County Circuit Court. Who goes there? Well, typically it's the prosecutor who prosecuted the district court level case, whether it's a zoning case or a criminal case or a DWI. They follow the case, and you have to pay them extra. I think my involvement on that would be contingent on the number of cases that are filed on a monthly basis.
Do you have any prosecuting experience for municipal?
Yep, I prosecuted for the city of Lowell for a while. I also was the drug task force prosecutor for Washington County. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's, you get picked up with drugs and you have a gun or a car or a pickup that's paid for, and I have the right under Arkansas law to capture that pickup and sell it at auctions. I prosecuted in Elkins, prosecuted in Lowell. I think everybody who has been in a single firm practice or even a firm practice on a lower level attorney status has prosecuted somewhere. And part of that reasoning is get your feet wet, get you knowledgeable of what the judges want, how it's supposed to be. That to me, that's not a problem. The biggest problem may be the number of cases you have. No. In my capacity as city attorney is to advise you. If you ask me point blank or not, is this illegal? A lot of times I may give you the answer that says, I'm not sure right now, because I don't know what you're wanting to do with this. If you're wanting to do A, chances are it's illegal. If you're wanting to do B, it may not be illegal. And I may even say, I want you to look at how the ordinance you're proposing is structured. Because that ordinance has a great bearing on what happens in the future. Now, a lot of city councils think you can pass an ordinance and then modify it by a resolution. Can't do that. Can't touch an ordinance with a resolution. The only way you can modify an ordinance is you can amend it, you can supersede it, you can get rid of it. Now, that amendment may have, 4 more pages of stuff. And I'm sure you've got ordinances that have, started off as one simple page. And now it's 5 other pages because you've amended it. And there's a process. Councilmen know the process of how that goes through. You vote on the amendment first, and then you vote on the ordinance as amended. Sometimes the amendment passes, sometimes the ordinance as amended won't pass because somebody doesn't like it. But in order to get it to the point where you have a vote, somebody will vote, say, yeah, okay, let's go ahead and vote on it. The other thing that ordinances do is they too set a precedent. This is what we're going to do. This is what this ordinance says. I mean, it could be something as crazy as you've got to give us a 16-foot center line easement when we put a water line or a sewer line. That's fine. Come to me and I say, well, yeah, I'll give you an easement, but I'll give you a 12-foot easement. Whoever is dealing with that person, whether it's a city council or whomever, you just cannot say, okay. You're bound by that ordinance. I mean, Mayor, you don't have the power to say, okay. Mr. Clark, you don't have the power to say, okay. Brad, you sure don't have the power to say, okay. And I just said that because you were laughing. You don't. The ordinance is what the ordinance says. Now, if you want to come back and get a variance, sure, you have the right to do that. But that's a whole different process. I'd probably pick up the phone and call Gino and say, Gino, are you available to fill in for me?
And who's Gino?
Gino Franco, he's from Tontitown, or his folks are from Tontitown. He works in Springdale. at the Lyle Law Firm. He is prosecuting attorney in Cave, I think. I've known him forever. Might even call Steve Zaga. Might even call Steve Parker. Mr. Parker is, I think he is for Farmington.
They would not be able.
If they represented another city, that's correct. Gino represents a city only on criminal actions. I don't think he represents a city. I can also get somebody else completely, or I can call the municipal league and say, hey, look, I'm gonna be out of town. Can you get somebody to fill in? And you pay a subscription, and I don't know what it is. It varies. It used to be, I think when I was city attorney, I think it was like $1,000 a year, or maybe $1,000 a time you use them. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's more than that now.
How do you ensure that the city?
I don't represent developers, never have, and never will. When you say in agreements with developers, I assume you're talking about a developer has gone through the stages and he has got his development okay. He's ready to process, ready to start. And then that developer comes in and wants to make some sort of a new agreement regarding, hey, look, this drain issue on this corner is just not going to work. We've got to do something else. Okay. What comes to my mind immediately is the concept of a change order. All right, well, that change order is fine. Planning Commission needs to prove it. Developer's going to say that's going to take too long. I'm sorry. We're playing by our rules. You jumped into this game. You're playing by our rules now. I have seen situations before this council was embodied, and I mean after I left office, where developers would get variance after variance after variance after variance at the Planning Commission level. It would pass City Council level, and then they would do what the hell they wanted to do. So to me, there's a three-step process. You've got the zone enforcement, our code enforcement. I assume we have a code enforcement officer. And he should not be afraid to write a ticket or a violation at the drop of a hat. And the reason is, you know, you're playing by our rules, and now you're changing them. And I think a lot of times the developer will stand up with a checkbook and say, hey, I can give you an extra $10,000. Just let me get this change. No, that doesn't work either. Now you're trying to bribe us. I think you've got to be real careful with developers. And I think, well, let me tell you what I have found in the last 3 years or 4 years with developers, not in this area, and it may be in this area too. People who develop property have got to the point where they're real smart. They'll form a corporation, ABC Corporation. That corporation will turn around and subform an LLC, and that LLC will turn around to form another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then they'll come in with the last LLC and make an application to the Planning Commission. Here's what we want to do. Everything gets approved. ABC Corporation's out there doing the work. We didn't approve ABC Corporation. We approved the LLC. Well, we're one of them saying, no, you're not. No, you're not. Well, we're going to do the work. Well, maybe, maybe not. Because we have no control over ABC Corporation. We can pull the plug on the LLC. Maybe that's what we should do then. I think the Planning Commission, the City Council, and the zoning code enforcement, I think they've got to be a little bit gutsy. if you let one developer push you over, you've just opened the door for the other one, because it's always you stand up here with a room full of people and say, well, you let Billy Bob do it, and all I want to do is the very same thing. They're telling me no. I'll see you in court. And I'm sure that's happened here. Or if it's not, you know, you're lucky, because it's going to happen. And sometimes it's real hard to find out who actually owns those LLCs. I mean, you know, Brad, I don't know if you know anything about it, but I could make you the managing member of an LLC that I form, and you have no damn idea you're the managing member. You don't have to sign anything. Everything's electronic. No. You know, the property that sits behind where the church was, I guess where the fire station is now. Oh, yeah. They threatened to sue us, but they never did sue us. And it was because they wouldn't click all the boxes off on the planning commission. They would have, every time they got down to 8 or 9 of them gone, needed to have 10, they would come, you know, they'd come to the city council saying, we want to go ahead. So the answer to that is no. I've not represented the city. I don't recall of any lawsuits that the city had when I was a city attorney. I was both. I was a city attorney first, and then I was the attorney for the Water and Sewer Commission. And you know, I see these big pipes out here all the time. It kind of makes me feel good, kind of makes me feel sad in a way, is you know, when we laid out the water system, that was a little bit outdated, but when we tried to update it, we tried to take into effect that, you know, somewhere in the next 15, 20 years, this town was going to be bustling, and it is. You know, I don't know if we're at capacity as far as water is concerned or not, but if not, we're soon going to be. Do we still get our water from Tontitown or
Yes.
through Springdale or from?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that was always a challenge too. We used to have to fight Springdale because they would, you know, their water would go up 7 cents and they would turn around, want ours to go up 12 because we were getting it from Springdale.
So, Mr. Gunderson, you were a city attorney here for 2.5 years?
I think that's about right. Yes, sir.
And why the half?
Why the half? I think the half was on the front end.
Okay.
At that time, my practice was, I had an office on Fontenelle, that 2-story building. And my practice was focused mainly on domestic relations, family law, personal injury, and all mastery, Tommy Granada. And Art Penzo, Henry Piazza. Call me. Want to know I'd be interested in being the city attorney. I said yes, and I did it for 2 reasons. You know, there was, at that time, there wasn't much money in it. I don't even know what I got paid. It wasn't much. But it was something that I felt I could do and needed to do as, you know, part of my involvement with the city and part of my involvement with the community. I did it for about 2 years, and at that time, I started shrinking my practice. I practice out of my house right now. Now, I'm 71 years old. I do what I want, when I want, where I want, and how I want. I practiced with firms, didn't like it. Because if you practice, if you're a member of that firm, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that firm. And you have to take just about anything and everything that comes in the door. I can tell people to go home, I don't want you, I'm not going to represent you. I can pick and choose what I want. And I like it that way. And I think two and a half years, that was enough. I spent about a year on the Water and Sewer Commission after that. And, I thought we accomplished a lot. We rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I'll be the first one to admit it. But we got a lot accomplished. We fought with Washington Water Authority and probably still should be fighting with Washington Water Authority. They've got lines on our service area. We've got lines in theirs. Because at the time, I don't think anybody knew where one area ended and where the other one started, and I still don't think they did. And the funny thing I remember about that, and George Butler at the time was the city attorney. I'm a county attorney. And we sent him a map where all the water lines that we know of are. Some of them are in your territory. Would you send us a map of where your lines are? He wouldn't. He said it was national security. Well, that doesn't work. And I think there are still some lines out in this area, west of town, that I'm not quite sure if we've ever found. And I don't know what the leakage is, but at one time there was significant leakage. I don't know what it is. You probably, James, you probably know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's about 30%.
Yeah. And I think when we started, it was 50, and I think we got it down to 30, but I think there's lines out there where nobody even knows where they're at. And I'm sure the water just rolling out of them. I don't know if I answered your questions. I rambled.
I mean, it was an open-ended question with why half, so I think you did a fine job. A follow-up to that, I appreciate that you're in a position where you can do what you want, when you want, how you want. So I've got two questions. Why do you want to do this? And then what happens to the city when you determine that you don't want to anymore?
Okay. Let's take the last one first. I think if the city and I came to agreement on a contract, I would give you a certain number of days, or you would give me a certain number of days. I don't like the idea of walking in one Tuesday night and saying, "Oh, folks, this is my last meeting. Good luck. Bye." That's not right. That's not how I work. They used to say a handshake on a deal was probably the most important thing about the deal, and I still think that. But let's get it down in writing so everybody knows what it is. So let's let every council member know what it is. Let's let the mayor know what it is. Let's let the mayor's assistant know what it is. Let's let the planning commissioner know what it is. I mean, there's no secret. The other part of your question is, I think as a citizen and as an attorney, I have probably two different obligations to the city, or maybe three. Number one, I could sit back and do nothing, just watch it. Two, I could help the city. I could be the city's attorney. I'm familiar with the streets. I'm familiar with some of the old hands. Now, the old hands may not even be relevant anymore. But I can go see Mike Zupo and say, "Hey, Mike, I've got an issue on such and such. Who owns that, or who did own that, and blah blah blah." And Mike would fill you in. He would know. The other one is, I can do nothing. I can be a watchdog. You've got a lot of people in a lot of different cities, all they do is sue the city. The city doesn't need to be sued a bunch. That's just, you know, I was a city council, we used to say, thank God for Elkins, because they were always messing up, always. And I'm not saying y'all are messing up. All I'm saying is, don't be like Elkins used to be, or Johnson used to be. I used to tell my clients and still tell them, don't drive through Johnson, period, the end. There's not a damn thing in Johnson you need or want, except you're gonna get a ticket. I think I owe a little bit to the community and to the city. I mean, the Tontitown's been great for me. I've had a wonderful run. I had a great office. I got a nice piece of property, got a nice house. Somewhere down the line, you're going to have a city attorney that runs for election. It may be the next election cycle. I don't know. And then, you know, you're not going to have much of a choice. Now, what that attorney does for the city, you probably can fashion. I just think I owe it to the community. I think I've got a little skin in the game here. You know, when we put the sewer line, it ran north. It went through my boundary, my property. And, you know, the engineers came out and, you know, wanted me to sign the easement. And I said, yeah, I'll sign the easement, but this willow tree that I have on the corner of my property, I said, that stays. I mean, that was my only requirement. You know, everybody around me was getting X number of dollars per tenth of an acre or whatever. I didn't want that, you know. Sewer's there. I know if my sewer fails, I'm gonna have to hook up on it unless I'm 301 feet away. I'm not quite sure how far I am, but.
So you've had a lot of very specific municipal work here, no other cities.
No other city.
Okay, but a lot here in a lot of different areas. And with that comes some baggage potentially, right?
Sure. Anytime you represent clients for a long time comes baggage.
So in the midst of that baggage, you probably have relationships with people that certain elements of city council or planning or city council go, oh, that person gives me hives or whatever.
I don't know that because I don't think I know members of the city council. I mean, I've talked to a few of them, but I don't think but I don't know them. Not like I used to know them.
Well, I mean, on the other side. So
They may. I mean, there may be people in the planning commission that don't like, maybe people on the police force don't like me. To be honest with you, I don't give a damn. If I'm representing the city of Tontitown, I'm representing the city of Tontitown. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to be your daddy or your mama. I'm here to give you advice on what's right and what's wrong and what will pass mustard and what will not.
So in the midst of that, on city council, for instance, or in the mayor's office or wherever, sometimes there are things that we just want. We want it, right? We're going to be headstrong. We want that thing. I don't agree with your advice on that. I want the thing. How do you deal with that?
Again, my role is only advisor. I can advise you so much. And I can say, you're opening up a can of worms here if you do this. And these 5 or 6 or 7 people say, we want it. We want to do that. Okay. I just want you to know that 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months down the line, this may come back to bite you. Now, I'm not telling you don't pass it. I'm just giving you my advice. My advice is not to say no, yes, no. It's to give you advice, the pros and cons. Just like any client, just like a divorce client. If you accept this deal, here's what you're forgetting. Here's what you're letting go of. If you don't take it, here's what you may never get.
So in the midst of that, let's say that we go against council,
Okay.
and 6 months from now, we have our rear ends in a sling. What do you do?
I'll have to represent you. And I have to try to get you out of that sling as quick as possible. Now, I think what you're slowly leading up to is, all right, council didn't take my advice, now 6 months later, they get sued. City gets sued. There a defense to that? Yeah, probably. But it would have been easier 6 months ago to say no. And sometimes there is no defense. I mean, the FOI is a big area where there's, you know, you didn't do it right. The judge doesn't matter what you say. Well, you know, I didn't know. Well, no, that's not a defense. Or, well, we have now installed different rules and regulations so everybody now knows. No, that's still not good enough. It's, you know, what happened at that time. And I think a lot of people on various city councils think the city attorney can wave a magic wand and things will go away. They don't want to go away. They're not going to go away. I mean, you guys fought forever, waste management, forever, tooth and nail, and you know, put up a damn good fight. But, you know, in the bottom line, you had to fold and try to put up cautionary measures on the back end. And I think that's what you're doing, although I haven't read any of the ordinances of late. I don't know if I can answer that question to your satisfaction, because I don't know if there is a correct answer.
Oh, I don't know that there's anything anybody could say to satisfy or leave me dissatisfied.
Yeah.
I'm just, part of it is I'm trying to understand how you operate, how your brain would work in a situation like that.
Right, so I'm sitting right there.
Yes, sir.
I've got a copy of an ordinance in front of me that somebody on the council drafted, and I had a chance to review it. And it's open for discussion, and somebody on the council says, Mr. Gunderson, what do you think about this? And I'm going to say, well, here's the problems that I see with it, A, B, and C. Here's the way you can resolve these problems, and, you know, either omit this or change this, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're just dead set about passing it, and you're not going to take my advice, which is your prerogative, that's fine. We'll have to deal with it on the back end. And I'm not going to be one who 6 weeks down the road or 6 months down the road will sit in that chair and say, I told you so. No, that's not my job. My job is to try to get you out of it then. Hopefully to put into place some sort of procedure or some sort of discussion that if it happens again in the future where I say this is where you got problems, council can step back and say, well, let's just table this and let's look at these potential problems before we put it back in front of the council.
Okay.
I mean, it's always better to table it and wait another month or 2 weeks or 4 weeks before you bring it back up. If and the homework is if members of the council get involved and say, you know, Gunderson said this is a problem. And how can we resolve that problem?
So you've mentioned ordinances a lot, resolutions a lot. What experience do you have drafting those? Is that something that you've done for the city in the past, or is somebody else drafting those for you?
You know, I was looking back at some of the ordinances that are still on my memory files in the computer. And I don't know, to be honest with you. I think I drafted them, but I think you've got you know, ChatGPT and you've got AI. They can draft the ordinances, and all you have to do is fine tune. And to be honest with you, I would prefer that if a councilman has an ordinance, or if he has something that he wants to put into an ordinance or make into an ordinance, let him draft it. Let him draft. Let him get AI involved. And I don't know how soon before the meeting the agendas go out. 4 or 5 days, I assume, maybe a week.
They're supposed to be out the Friday before the Tuesday meeting.
So 4 days. I'm going to get a copy of that packet. I'm going to get a copy of that ordinance. I'm going to be able to review that ordinance. Say, yeah, this is fine, or no, we should change this. And sometimes you change it, well, the council's meeting, which I don't have a problem doing that either. I don't know if you discuss the potential ordinances that you're going to look at the meeting of the whole before the next city council meeting.
Well, historically, what we've done is the attorney has spoken to the council member. They've come up with the draft of the ordinance. They give it back to the council member. Usually the council members reviewed that before it goes out in the packet. So at least it's made it that far. Would you be opposed to being engaged in that a little more before the Cal meeting?
I think I would like to see how it runs before I would propose any changes. But I do like the idea, if you're on the council and you have a specific ordinance involved, then AI can get it. Let's have at least a framework. That way I would know more so what you want than you pick up phone calling me and say, hey, we need an ordinance to do this, this, and this.
I think that could save some time too. Understood. And then you've talked a lot about water. What experience do you have with water and sewer infrastructure agreements specifically?
You know, we had the water agreement with the city of Springdale. At one time, we were dealing with Osage water treatment plant that never blossomed. And then I think we even had some sort of sewer treatment agreement with the city of Springdale at one time. I don't know where our sewer goes right now. I take it still goes to Springdale, or it may go somewhere else. I have no idea.
That was a temporary measure before the NACA plant was
Okay.
completed. Yeah.
And then NACA came online, right. You know, of course, my job as the attorney for the Water and Sewer Commission was, if we had a agreement or potential agreement or draft of one with NACA, I looked at it, you know, and then gave my opinion to the Water and Sewer Commissioners. And that's what I would do here. I would look at it, review it, give you my yes, no, be careful with this, this is this, you know, because there's always ways that people and companies and cities slip in a paragraph that just will catch you and burn you. It may not be right away, but it will catch you and burn you. You know, the city of Springdale, when we had had to buy the water from them, and I don't know who signed that contract initially, but it was like an automatic, you know, 4 or 5% a year they were going up. You know, come on, why would you do that instead of you know? And it was like, I'm sure Springdale said, take it or leave it. You know, most of the contracts that you deal with, especially in water and sewer and whoever whether it's NACA or Springdale or whatever, you have an opportunity to sit down with the opposing party and try to hammer these things out. And it just takes time, and it takes a little bit of effort to review those items. And you're not always going to get what you want, and they're not always going to get what they want. And I think our water rates just went up, didn't they? Did that pass yet?
Yes.
Sewer rates did.
Sewer rates.
Okay. And then you were here when? About what time period?
Had to be in the early 2000s.
Okay. And
I wish I'd be more specific, but
That's all right.
I can't be.
that's all right. We can probably find something back in time if we need to. But so why now? Why this? I mean, somebody from here or somebody in the city, or you say, hey, we'd love to see you engaged, or did you know about this, or did you see it in the paper?
I got an email from one of the council members just to see if I was interested. I haven't spoken with him since. I entered my statement of qualifications. Fancy way of saying resume, but.
Yeah.
No, I'm at, like I said, I'm at the point in my career where I can focus on this. And, a year, 2 years down the road, if it doesn't work, I'm going to say, hey, folks, here's 90 days. And you're going to have the same right to do that, whether it's me or whoever you hire. I hope you do, because if you don't, don't get trapped. And like I said, I've got skin in the game. I mean, I may want to rezone my property. When I built my house, this is how far the Planning and Zoning Commission has come, our Planning Commission has come. When I built my house, Steve Sabo was the building inspector. James, you probably know him. Steve Sabo came to my office, wanted to see the plans for my house. Took him to the table and pulled them out. He sat down and he wrote on a napkin, this is what your building permit's going to be. And I said, James, what's that based on? I can't find anything in the city of Tontitown that bases it on that. He said, well, you've got 2 bathrooms. I said, well, what if I take one out? Then we would have to refigure. And I said, no, you'd have to refigure. I said, you're not showing me what the table is or nothing. So I turned his napkin over and I wrote down, this is what I'm going to pay. So that's how I got my building permit in the city of Tontitown. That's wrong. But it was worse that Sable was getting a 50% cut of every building permit in the city of Tontitown, Cave Springs, Elm Springs, and somewhere else. So there was no control. Now you've got some control, but I think that the problem with control sometimes is transparency. And that's really important to me. You've got to be square up with everybody. And sometimes there are things you just can't divulge because it's not proper at that time. We didn't have much of a city that operated when I came out here. I think that was 90, 9 or 20 years.
So from our perspective, we're talking to a fella who's done this here before, but there are always pros and cons.
Sure.
So if you look at it from our side, what are the things about you that you'd be concerned about were you sitting in my seat?
I think the first thing that somebody is probably going through their head right now, he's a one-man shop. Doesn't have anybody working for him, doesn't have another lawyer working for him. He's a one-man shop. But there's only one city attorney. Yeah, but he's got a firm. Okay, so you want the junior or an associate in the firm to be able to pick up the phone and call you when you can't reach the other guy. No, you're going to call me. You're going to call me. You're not going to call somebody else. The other thing is, like I said, I can pick and choose what I want. I don't represent developers. Never have. I've sat in that chair before, although it was somewhere else in this building then. I have a feel for how I think it should be run. I'm sure if I get up there and the city council doesn't like the way I'm going, they're going to tell me. We don't want you to do this. We want you to do this.
Please go right ahead. Thank you.
How quickly can we expect responses to urgent questions?
Great question.
I would think the only delay that I would see would be the complexity of the question, what it involves. And, I'm always going to have my phone on me, even when I'm in court. Like tomorrow and Wednesday, I'm in court most of the day. You call me tomorrow morning and get me before I go in court, I'm not going to be able to get a response to you until I get out of court. So I would think within 24 hours. And it may be as simple as, my initial research shows this, this, and this. If this doesn't satisfy you, I'll do a little bit more research and get back with you. I don't like to do too much over the phone. Got an issue or a problem you want me to look into, send me an email. That way I've got, sort of old school. I've got a copy of that email on my desk. It says, the flag on it says, Mayor wants me to look into this. Get back with her soon. And I don't know how quick other firms can, sure, sometimes if a bigger firm might be able to get back to you sooner, but you will probably not get back a response from the person that you wanted the response from. You'd probably get a response from a junior partner or an associate.
Is that problematic? You've said that a couple of times, like that would be a problem if an associate responded instead of.
Well, here's the problem I see. If you've got a city attorney who sits there for 6, 8, 7 months and you're always dealing with him. He's in a trial for 2 weeks. And an associate who you've never met, seen, heard of says, I got this memo from the mayor of Tontitown and this is what I think she wants. You have no idea whether that associate has any background in any municipal issue, all, period, the end. And to me, that's one of the problems with the big firm. They have to take everything that comes in. They have, I don't know the other parties that you're interviewing, but I would damn sure want them to do a conflict of interest check to see if they've represented any developers or companies that developers own who've got issues in Tontitown. Just to me, that's a red flag. And one of the other things about bigger firms, bigger law firms that represent various cities in Northwest Arkansas. You've got some law firms that represent Siloam, Gentry, and Abe or Elm, okay? That law firm probably has an inherent conflict waiting to happen. Did we get a boundary dispute or a water dispute with Elm Springs? They represent Elm. They can't represent us. They can't represent Elm. Both of them are gone. I don't represent Elm. I'm not going to represent Elm. I'm going to represent the city of Tontitown.
So what conflicts of interest do you have if you were in the role?
The only conflict of interest that I would have is if the city of Tontitown Zoning Commission wants to rezone my property, then I've got to step back. But then again, I'm not going to represent the Zoning Commission. That's one of my requirements. I'm not going to go to a planning commission meeting, period.
And that could be problematic for us because we're looking for an attorney that helps with that. I understand your concern. I've heard that concern before. When I was doing some research, I noticed that as well. So what would you suggest in a situation like that? If we were to hire you to be our city attorney, do we hire somebody else to be our planning attorney?
Let me tell you what Fayetteville does. Maybe Kit Williams is the city attorney for Fayetteville, has been forever. Kit represents a city in zoning issues, in planning issues, and in discriminatory lawsuits, things like that. Casey Jones, who used to be the prosecutor for the city of Fayetteville, did all the prosecuting. That's all he did. He didn't do anything else. So right then, the city's got two different attorneys, city attorneys. Casey was a deputy city attorney. You also will have a separate city attorney that represents planning commission, but that's problematic because if he gets disqualified and he works for any of other city attorneys, the whole shebang is gone. I don't know if the planning commission needs, to be honest with you.
Well, let me just state, we currently do still have a contract with the previous company for the planning commission. And we do feel it's necessary to have somebody here just for those cases, but we still have a current contract with that. Yep.
goes until it's either terminated
Yep.
or renewed. I wouldn't have a problem sitting as city attorney, renew that contract. I can't tell her what to do. I assume it's a her. I mean, you're paying her now, you were paying her before, you were paying Eichmann, and you were paying her, and you were paying someone else to do the criminal cases. You were paying 3 lawyers. Prosecuted.
You mean the waste management dispute?
No, he's talking about
No,
Oh,
you've got a
right.
prosecutor too.
Yes, sir.
boundaries around political pressure or attempts to influence.
Fine.
Yes.
I don't give a damn if you're Republican or Democrat. It makes no difference to me. You're not going to influence me. You know, if I'm hired to represent the city of Tontitown, I don't care. If you're black, green, yellow, white, Democrat, Republican, Independent, that's
I
not,
was talking about more political pressure.
why should I bow to political pressure? And I'll tell you, you know, you can get political pressure from the outside, you can get political pressure from the inside. And neither one will I tolerate. I'll apologize for myself. I shoot kind of straight, and I want people to shoot straight with me. And if they don't, well, that dog's going on the back porch.
How do you want to be?
I think I've answered that twice, but you know, I've got, you know, I sit right down here.
Right.
And why you're wanting to come?
Well, what a better way to provide assistance to your community and to have a client that's a quarter mile away. I don't have to run to Fayetteville. I don't have to run to Fort Smith. And you don't have to run to Fayetteville. You don't have to pick up the phone and call Fort Smith or Gentry or Rogers. I'm here. And I think, you know, a lot of people make a whole lot out of community pride. Like I said, don't become Elkins. It's real easy to become Elkins.
Questions?
I'm going to write that down. Don't become Elkins.
I would write it down. I would write it on the wall.
I think that's if we could get that on that side.
We all.
You know, that's a sticky wicket because, you know, as an employee, you have the right to, you know, if you're terminated and you are upset because of that termination. So there's steps that you have to take. You have to go down and you have to file a federal claim, EEOC, to see if that claim is even approved by the EEOC, to give you the green light to file a discriminating lawsuit. Now, I will tell you that sometimes there will be certain issues with me and other firms that you've interviewed, but they don't have the expertise to represent the city of Fayetteville, the city of Tontitown in that issue. And I probably don't. Now, I have represented Butterfield Trail Village for years, probably going on 30-some years. Had one employee lawsuit. And typically, EEOC gives you a green flag to proceed. They send you a letter. Evaluated your claim, you have the right to proceed. And typically, most of those individuals who proceed go to federal court. Or you can even get in to the federal courtroom. Go through a mandatory mediation with a magistrate, federal magistrate. The federal magistrate sits in a, now this is kind of funny, sits in a higher chair in the conference room as the parties on each side, higher up. And her advice as soon as you walk in is, we're going to settle this damn thing. Because Judge Brooks didn't want to hear it. Does that just to make sure the parties get to the point where they get all the issues on the table and then resolve it. Now, there's not much law involved in it. It's a negotiating concept. And, you know, and I can remember very well picking up the phone and calling the council members at Butterfield Trail Village and saying, all right, we can settle this for $12,500 now and be done with it. Or go to trial in 3 weeks, and just the prep and going to trial is going to cost you $15,000. So you make the call. I can't. You know, it's not my right. It's the city council's right to make the call. So there'll be some issues. There'll be some areas of the law that I have nothing. I don't know a darn thing about. And, you know, you pick a phone call municipally.
Policy procedures.
For a police department? No.
I like to put that.
Now your personnel policies, as well as police department and the city, should have very similar policies, other than the fact that maybe crafted different because of law enforcement issues. Those need to be reviewed at least on I would suggest doing it on an annual basis, but it's so hard to do. I mean, you've got a budget the mayor's got to present a budget. She probably starts that probably in October. So that takes up time. Then all the other various departments, they need to have a budget. So that starts, then you want to do a policy and personnel review policy. Oh, come on. Well, it's got to be done. You know, and a lot of cities lag behind, where they're 4 or 5 years behind. And some of the personnel issues have changed due to legislative action. And I don't know if the city is hooked up to where they can get all of the most recent legislative issues, which I'm sure they are, but you've got to, because sometimes that reshapes your personnel policies without you even touching it. And retirement, same thing, you know. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely, thank you.
It's going to be cold, so be careful going home.
Well, you can leave that.
I'll leave it up here. Somebody will kick it over. If it was at my house, I'd kick it over, so.
Okay, Kevin, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Do we need to officially end this meeting? Aye.
Y'all have a meeting tomorrow? Is that the committee of the whole?
Yes, sir.
You're invited, 6 o'clock.
So, yeah, I know. So at those meetings, is it just a discussion forum typically?
That's what the COW is.
And its scope and creation is by ordinance?
Updated our agenda.
We did.
Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Are these on? Are these live?
Brad, can you turn these off, please?